In this retro review, we go back to the good old days of TWH collectibles. And here's the model we're looking at in its outer shipping carton, and it's a Vermeer machine. And the label says it's TWH model 085.
Let's weigh it up.
With its shipping coat on, it weighs 2 pounds, 12 ounces. What happens to be 1.235 kilograms. Let's move on and open up the shipping carton and see what's inside. What we're expecting to see is another box, and what we in fact see is another box. As you can see, it is Vermeer branded, and it's the T12 Commander 3 tractor with a terrain leveler attachment. After that mouthful, we take a look underneath, and yes, it's a Vermeer. And there's the TWH Collectibles logo, and it's almost shy to admit it's TWH 085. Okay, it's time to open the box and see what's... It's no surprise that we see the usual pair of expanded polystyrene trays. And on top you can see that there's a bag and it contains some paperwork. In true TWH style, it's contained in a sealed bag. And so it takes a few moments to get it out. But resistance is futile, and out it comes, and we'll look at it more in a moment. We separate the trays, and there's the model. And it's protected by a piece of plastic film. Moving on to the paperwork, and the first is a reprint of a Vermeer marketing brochure. And these inclusions are always very good because they tell you something about the real machine. Also included is another separate sheet, and this confirms there's no assembly to do because it's complete out of the box. And on the back it describes a related model, which is the Vermeer trencher.
Let's weigh it up again.
So the model goes onto the weighbridge and it's just under 2 pounds, which is bang on 900 grams. We start underneath, and at the back you can see the engine, and the structure of the chassis is modelled well, with just a couple of black screw heads not looking authentic. The metal tracks are nicely detailed. Towards the front there are a couple of support legs, and then we get to the milling head, which has a soft rubber skirt. The drum is very nicely modelled with all of the individual picks replicated. Looking at the front, you can see the nice rubber skirt, and the support detail is modelled very well. A particularly nice aspect are the very tiny graphics, and they are very sharp. The cover of the drive chain has got Vermeer graphics, and it includes the holes in the cover. There's a usable lifting eye, and a standout aspect of the model is the hydraulics, and you can see here that the connectors are also modelled. There are more excellent graphics which add to the authentic look. Here you can see the side skirt to the milling drum, and also the outer picks on the drum. There are support legs to control the milling level, and this is one of the very few plastic parts on the model. The detailing of the track frames is at a very high level. The drive sprocket looks very good, and you can see that the track frame has lots of detail within the casting. The plastic jackets on the main hydraulic rams are slightly off colour, but excellent use of colour has been made in highlighting details, and the curved hydraulic lines looks great with its clips. The access hatch is modelled really well, and the securing pins for the rams are painted. The cab is also modelled to a very high standard with nice seals on the windows, and the graphics and artwork look very convincing. There's also a very nice metal grab rail. Looked at from behind, and the detail on the cab is really great. There are lots of soft, flexible cables, and a very nice small detail is the red emergency hammer. Another really good aspect of the modelling are the mesh grills on the doors, and you can see that the door handles and hinges are nicely highlighted. At the back we have a commander graphic and some metal steps, and there's a textured walkway outside the cab. At the back there's another grille that's properly formed, as are the twin towing points. On the other side of the body we have another excellent looking grille and more top quality highlighting of bolt heads. Up on top, the very high level of detailing continues, and that includes more superb mesh grills. There's a nice highlighted filler cap, and perhaps the only criticism is the thick handrails on this side. Towards the front, the top is a mass of hydraulics lines. We start underneath with the crawler tracks, and they are very free rolling. Also particularly good is the functionality of the milling drum, and you can see it's driven by that very large belt, and this is excellent model engineering. The tracks are too stiff to roll on a smooth surface, and as you can see they are tensioned in the usual way, and that always makes them laugh. Out we go into the Cranes Etc. quarry, and the tracks roll very well because they have something to bite on. A feature of the real machine is the elevating cab, and that works very well on the model. The hydraulic rams have got enough stiffness that they can hold any pose, and this overall functionality is very nice. The cab also features an opening door, and that lets you have a good look inside. It also gives you access to the operator's seat, and that also has the ability to rotate in position so the operator can look each way. With the door open, it is possible to have a good look at the detail inside, and that console looks great. Let's close the cab door and move on, and you can open up a couple of doors into the engine bay. These are modelled well because they open very widely, and it's a worthwhile feature because of the detail inside. In fact, when the cab is raised, you can see a massive amount of hoses inside. Moving to the other side, there's another opening door, and that gives you another view into the engine, and it's well worth having a look at that detail. There's more hoses inside, and there are also hoses running to the fan enclosure that's within the door. And this is all very intricate detailing. Let's close it up and then move to the front of the machine. And the whole of the cutter head can be raised up. The front is heavy, so the rams do well to keep it up. And that does give us another chance to see the milling drum working. The height of the milling drum can be carefully controlled, and that doesn't rely on the rams to do that. Because of the heavy weight, there are a couple of drop-down legs to support it. You can use this model as a transport load, but in reality, fully configured, it's probably a bit too heavy. This model was first released by TWH Collectibles in 2008. At the time, TWH set high standards for detail and functionality. And even now, some 16 years later, those standards have not been met by most other model makers. This model is a great combination of details and functionality, and overall it's good enough to be rated as excellent.